Well, joining us now on Encounters, Father Damian Ference, author of this book right here, The Strangeness of Truth, Vibrant Faith in a Dark World, and he's also the founder and director of Tolle Lege Summer Institute. Thank you so much for being with us, Father.
Thanks for having me, Kevin. It's an honor to be here.
Maybe before we get into the book itself, maybe if you could talk about the Summer Institute, how it developed and came about. Yeah.
So as you probably know, there's all sorts of camps for young people in the summers, band camp, athletic camp, even spiritual camp. You know, Life Teen does great things and Steubenville does great things. One of the things I noticed was that there was not an outlet for intellectual formation for young people. So I went to my former bishop, was Bishop Lennon from Boston originally, and asked if we could try this because we had the space at the seminary, we had the faculty, so we could do intellectual formation, spiritual formation, liturgical and cultural formation for kids heading into their senior year of high school to prepare them for living as young adult Catholics in the world. And so we've ran this program now for 7 years.
Wow.
I'm currently in Rome, so I'm no longer the director. I'm still the founder, but Father Patrick Anderson runs it. But it's been going very well so far.
Yeah, and maybe talk about that too, how important it is to send kids off. I know a lot of people, feel like the kids go to college and they lose their faith, or it falls away. And maybe talk about the importance of that, having a good foundation going in.
Right. So we're trying to help with that transition from moving out of a high school youth program or a parish-based to now college. And so I always tell them, you're going to need a handful of friends who share your faith with you. And if you don't have them, you're going to lose your faith because your mom and dad aren't going to be in college with you. Your siblings won't be there. Your parish priest or youth minister won't be there. So you're going to have to find a place, and you're also going to have to make the time to spend with other people who share the faith that you do. And do the kind of things, not just go to Mass, but go see a film and then afterwards have a meal or a beer if you're old enough and talk about what was going on in that film. Yeah. We actually watch a secular film each week at the camp and try to show them how to do that. Or go to the art museum. Or go to, actually Bishop Lennon said, take them to a ball game. So we take them to an Indians game each week too. And just show them how to live Catholic life well as young adults. So that's the mission of the camp. And I couldn't say this. In 7 years of running the camp, we've had 18 young men who have entered our seminary. They haven't all stayed, but they've all tried it. And we have a couple women who are in religious life too. And this summer, I'm going to be celebrating the first Tolle Lege wedding. Young man and young woman met at Tolle Lege 5 years ago, and now they're getting married.
That's
and
great.
I just had a wedding appointment with them the other day. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
The church is alive and young and well.
It is. And speaking of living truths, seeing truths and your faith in your life and as you go along in a secular world, talk about this book, The Strangeness of Truth, and sort of putting it all together. I understand it's a little bit of, you take readers along on your life and you try to, locate the sacredness in life along the way. Yeah.
So it's my first book, and I have a great place in my heart for those who, are young, but also on the margins. And I had some people in mind as I was writing this. I used to be a parish priest, and I saw young people who were alive and vibrant in their faith as high schoolers, and then went off to college or started living, and then life came at them, and they experienced great suffering or made decisions that weren't the best for them, all sorts of reasons, who maybe at this point aren't where they could be. And so I wrote this book for them, and I use a tone and I use a voice that I'm trying to share my own story. My mom died a year before I was ordained a priest. My dad died 2 years ago. And I loved rock and roll as a kid. And all these things were going on in sports. And I think I lived a pretty normal human life. So I'm trying to connect our Catholic faith with human life and show how those two things go together and how they mesh. And that you don't have to lock yourself up in a hole to live your Catholic life well. But it's actually a call to live out, be salt, light, and leaven in the world, and how that looks. So I'm trying to do a little bit of that there, inspired by St. Augustine a bit with his Confessions, although not as long.
Any tricks for people, to sort of see the truths in life, in a secular world, as you go along? Is there some way to be more observant, I guess, of what's the sacredness around people?
Well, I guess it would be just that. Stop and look and see. We live in a world that's constantly trying to distract us with our phone, a new app, or scrolling through things. Even if you think of a basketball game, I'm from Cleveland, Cavs won the championship, 2016, LeBron James, right? It used to be when I was a kid in the 80s, if you went to a Cavs game, you know what happened during the timeouts? Nothing. And now during every timeout, there's something always. So it's constant stimulation. So I think one of the things that people can do, especially young people, and this is what the church can help them do, slow down, put the phone down, take a break. This is why so many people, I think, have conversions during holy hour, because they're just there with the Lord and not being distracted. Yeah. So that's a really important part. Take a walk, turn your phone off and go smell the flowers or something, you know.
Yeah. Unfortunately, running out of time, but talk about the experience of writing the book and writing about your life too as you went along. What were some of the things maybe that you found along the way writing this?
I found it to be very helpful, and writing itself, getting ideas down and processing them and putting them in story form and bringing theology and philosophy and culture together. It was a lot of fun, but it was fun because I was thinking of my potential reader and hoping that somehow my story, held up against the backdrop of the Paschal Mystery, might connect with someone else, and he or she can say, geez, I can see myself as part of that bigger story too. That is God's plan for all of us. So that's my hope.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for being with us.
Oh, you're
The
welcome.
Strangeness of Truth. Where can people get this book?
You can get it pretty much anywhere. The Pauline Sisters are selling it. It's on Amazon, your local bookstore. If they don't have it, you should tell your local bookstore to get it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks so much for being with us, Father.